Thank
Nice
you
to
very
see you.
much. Thank you very much.
How's business? What have you been
Wow.
busy with? Yeah, where do we start?
Where do you want to start? But
Yeah.
let me just share with you. I think what's important is our family's been in Hong Kong since 1929. We're a 100-year-old family, and Hong Kong is our home. It's a place where we started to develop our business opportunities, and it's a place where my family has instituted as nowhere else in the world,
Yeah.
our home. So in that, our family has grown to 165 family members, spanning 4 generations. And the key element of what we're trying to determine at the moment is how do we go forward? What's the process involved? Is there an eternal beacon that we need to be able to follow? Or do we chase advisors or follow advisors in the way that we need to try to understand the facets of activities that are important and relevant? But the key element, I think, for all of us is really understanding what does our family legacy stand for and what does it mean? And Hong Kong is our home. So if we look at Hong Kong as our flag, our bearing that we can always associate with, I think it's the most important point that will give us the baseline, the root, to be able to redevelop and envisage what Hong Kong potentially can become. So that's my introduction.
I mean, thinking about that point about what Hong Kong can become, there has been this discussion for a long time now. It feels like more than just a few years about Hong Kong's focus as a hub for family offices.
Yes.
And I guess the big question is, has it done enough?
Well, what is enough? There has to be a starting point, right? The key element is that the government put up a beacon after what Singapore established. What is a family office and where do we want to go in the vision of a family office? So drawing money into Hong Kong is important, but how do we create the structure? How do we create the professional attributes that family offices, single family offices, as well as multi-family offices can attach to? So we've studied, we look at CUHK, they have the Families, Center for Families Business, where they've come out with a white paper in saying what are the key elements that single family offices need? What are the key elements in trying to drive the families to come to Hong Kong? I think that's also an anchor point. And where they looked at this is that in the white paper is to establish a professional field, a professional institutionalized element that supports the family offices.
Right.
And in that study, as we invite people in, and I think it was Deloitte that came up with a report of 2,700 family offices established in Hong Kong, that consists mostly of local as well as foreign. But what we need to do is to invite professionals to come back. And professionals are the very element that will help Hong Kong actually grow.
Right.
Right?
Is that, just to paraphrase, is what we're lacking software or hardware? Is it a talent pool issue? Is it something the government can control, or have we just not waited enough for some, not all of the measures that have been put in place in the last, I would say, 2 years,
Yes.
to just simmer
Yeah.
and bear fruit?
Well, I think there are 2 parts to this, right? Hardware is existing. The hardware meaning the buildings, the infrastructure,
Right.
the availability and how things function in Hong Kong. Our government functions, our city functions, infrastructure is in place that allows people to have mobility. The thing that's missing is really the software. And that's really the mental capacity, the professionalism, as well as the engagement and encouragement for foreigners to come in. Now, when I say foreigners, I also include China. But we also understand that the West has different ways of looking at things. And I read a fantastic book by a person called David Epstein that wrote a book called Rage, is that diversity is the key to being able to grow and sustain your growth. And it's not about just saying, okay, we pull in the talent for the short term. We have to think short, middle, long term. And that process, we need the professionals to come in from overseas with different spectacles, different views.
So what is the biggest obstacle there, and whose job is it to fix that?
I think everyone has to participate. So here it is. Companies in Hong Kong said, okay, look, we need to look inward into China, our motherland. We have to help and provide the growth attributes to China. Now China's grown, and in the little hiccup in the economy, China will come back strong. But China's looking outwards as well, and we've lost that outward focus. And when we look outwards, has China been able to look through the Western vision or ASEAN vision to see what's happening in the rest of the world? So we have infrastructure, like we have Cyberport and we have the Science Tech Park and we incubate tech. Are we looking to bring in the ASEAN players? Are we looking in to bring in the Western players to come in to look for funding? Are we providing the professional services? And then are we allowing them to enter into China and vice versa? China needs to go out as well as other countries can come in. So recently, I think it was yesterday that China announced that they're inviting international companies to come into China. Come in, open up an office, set up. We're giving you visas, we're giving you visa-free access. Come in and set up. So what's that saying to Hong Kong? We've had it. We've had visa-free access for decades. Come in, come through Hong Kong, look at Hong Kong, park your wealth in Hong Kong, go into China, take a look, and then when you're ready to establish in China, make your placement. Go in full-footed. Right?
I mean, that brings up a lot of key issues. One, or topics, let's put it that way. One is, what sets Hong Kong apart from other financial centers in China for the future, like Shanghai, for example. The other conversation that's taken place over the last few years is that while it's obviously good to focus on mainland China for Hong Kong, it is of course what sets us unique, the proximity to mainland.
Yeah.
Is there something different about Hong Kong? Is Hong Kong simply China's financial center, or is it an international finance center? So the reason I bring those two things up is, what do you think officials here should do to attract more non-mainland Chinese business into the city?
There's the premise of how Hong Kong established itself under British rule was that it was started off as a backpack economy. People came in from the UK in backpacks and started to engage in the work environment. That helped us in flourish in our restaurants and our food and beverage availability.
Right.
And it started through that became the investment culture, came the business side of it. So if we invite people in from international markets to come in, let's start with the ease of visa process. Come in, take a work for 3 months or 6 months, get your feet wet, understand what Hong Kong, the availability that Hong Kong presents, get your feet wet and start working in the environment. And then once you have found your footing, establish a visa process that's much easier to process. Get that involved, and that's government side of it.
Okay.
But the corporate side of it is that we have to change the focus of saying, we only hire you if you speak Mandarin or Cantonese, and English is a byproduct. But the global environment for business and technology and other developments, medical as well, is English as the primary language that's spoken universally. So how do we encourage English to come back into the fray and then allow that opportunity to invite foreigners to come back in? So then we look at our education process and we look at our grassroots of Hong Kong that go through public systems. We need to be able to encourage English as a teaching medium to be able to assimilate, allow, as the West comes in or China opens up, to allow Hong Kong to be able to flourish as well.
Mahesh, in 10 seconds or less, the next big metric we should be looking for that would show us that that's successfully happening?
Well, you talked about symposiums, symposiums, conferences, and all of that.
Conclaves, summits.
I just recently held a workshop for the discovery of a new space economy. And a new space economy is something that we need to focus on. Hong Kong needs to create the regulation. We have a meeting coming forward, but that's one aspect that adds to growth in GDP, 3 to 5%.
Excellent, thank you so much. That's Mahesh Harilela, convener of Family Council for Harilela Group and partner of Chartwell Family Partners as well. And you can get an insider's guide to the money people shaking up the finance hub here in Hong Kong. That's our Hong Kong edition newsletter, which is out every Thursday. You can sign up via bloomberg.com/newsletters. Stay with us, you're watching The China Show. This is Bloomberg.